Have you ever wondered if you're even having the right conversation? Hi, I'm JD Taylor. I'm the principal consultant and coach at Crucial Transformations and the author of Tailored Tips. I just got off the phone talking to a client who is having this problem. They say every time they start talking about a tough issue with a certain person in their life, it seems like the conversation really doesn't go anywhere. They don't make any progress, nothing changes, or other times they seem to get sidetracked somehow and the conversation goes in a lot of different directions. You know, I live in Salt Lake City, Utah in the United States. It's a wintry place during the winter. We've hosted the Winter Olympics, if that gives you an idea of how wintry it might be. And every season, without fail, I will lose control of my car. It'll slide off the icy road, over the curb, down the embankment, and land in the bottom of the ditch. And I'll be stuck. Maybe this has happened to you, but it's been at the shore or in a traffic jam. And you know how disappointing and frustrating and discouraging that could be. So I'll get out and I'll put all my effort and energy and leverage and strength into one part of the car. I'll push with all my might, only to find that the car slides a little bit sideways and sinks in and is more stuck than it was before. This same thing happens to us in our important conversations because we make the same mistake. We push in the wrong place and then the conversation goes a little bit sideways on us as well. In order to overcome this, every once in a while I'll think, well, since I'm not really sure what's the right place to push, how about I just try and push everywhere at once? And so I'll put a hand here and another hand here and my hip here and my knee here. And on the count of three, I'll try and push and I can't create any friction. I lose my traction and I go sliding down into the bottom of the ditch, the snow spitting up in my face. The same thing happens to us in our conversations because we can't decide what's important, what we need to talk about. We try talking about everything and the conversation doesn't go anywhere. Here's the tailored tip. When you're in a tough conversation, remember the 3 P's. Every conversation is one of 3 types. It's either a conversation about a problem. That's the first P. I want to just talk to you about a single occurrence of something that just happened or the most recent incident, but I want to limit the conversation to a single topic. You said you'd check with me before you made the final decision. That didn't happen. Can we discuss that? The second P is for pattern. Sometimes the conversation we need to have addresses the multiple occurrences. What happened, the problem has happened on more than one occasion. You said you'd check with me before you made the final decision. That didn't happen. And that's the 3rd time that's happened on the last 5 decisions that we've faced. There's a couple of interesting things that we need to keep in mind when we're thinking about our pattern conversations. The first one is that most people, if we're talking to them, may not even agree with us that it's a pattern. You've had this experience. You've said to someone in your life, hey, 8 times over the last 3 weeks, you've been late. And I think it's becoming a pattern. And they look at it with shock and surprise on their face. What do you mean? The first time my alarm didn't go off, the second time the dog escaped, the 3rd time the babysitter called in sick, the 4th time I couldn't find my keys. They haven't connected all of those dots of information and plotted them on the same trajectory we have. We think it's going to happen a 9th or 10th time, and that's the reason to have the conversation. The other thing that sometimes happens is we feel guilty because we didn't have the problem conversation. You've probably said to yourself, or you've heard someone say, well, I don't want to bring it up now because they're just going to say, why didn't you mention this to me the first time when it happened a week ago? And so we talk ourselves out of having the problem conversation, the pattern conversation. Then the 3rd P is what we call people or person. This is a conversation about the way we're relating to the other person. That has changed. We're treating them differently. We treat them differently than other people in our family. We treat them differently than other people in our organization. This conversation is about our relationship, about character, about competence, about trust, about dependability, whatever it may be. You said you'd check with me before you made the final decision. 3 times in the last 5 projects we've worked on, that hasn't happened. What I'd like to talk about today, the place I'd like to push is what we're saying, is that I'm beginning to feel like you don't trust me. You don't respect my ideas and decisions. I'm finding that disengaging and demoralizing, and it's making me question my role and responsibility on the team and wondering if I ought to go work somewhere else where my contributions would be even greater and more valued. So remember, anytime you're in a conversation and you're not sure you're having the right conversation, think of the 3 P's. What's the right place to push? Do I want to have a conversation about the problem? Do I want to have a conversation about the pattern? Or do I want to have a conversation about the person? The benefit of the 3 P's is twofold. The first one is it helps us unbundle the issue, deconstruct it, and identify all of the component parts. What are the problem issues? What are the pattern problems? What are the personal challenges that I'm facing? That's the scientific part of the process. The artistic part of the process is then being able to say, now that I've unbundled it and identified all of the candidate conversations I can have, how can I prioritize what's the right conversation to have? One of those conversations will do a better job of getting us unstuck, up the hill, and back on the road to where we want to go. So I hope next time you're stuck, you're feeling frustrated, you're feeling discouraged, you'll be able to remember the 3 P's. And I hope that this tailored tip will help you be able to leave conflict behind. Good luck. If you'd like help with your unresolved conflict, please reach out using my contact information shown on the screen. And if you enjoyed this tailored tip, please share it with your family members and friends. Give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you'd like to hear more tailored tips. And if you need a tailored tip customized just for you, leave that request in the comments.